So, Steve eventually came by to pick up the algebra notebook, grabbing a snack out of the kitchen on his way out, and waving me and my parents goodbye, leaving me to wait on a call from Renee, which I didn't have to wait long for. Sometime about noon, my phone rang. Renee's ringtone, a song from a TV show that we both liked, Creepy Tales, which tended to fit Renee's unusual personality, started to play as I picked up my phone, knowing exactly who was calling. Hey Renee. So, is it time? I said into the phone. Yeah, I picked up my car from Lisa, and I'm on my way there now. How did things go with your parents? Are they still angry? Renee asked. No, they seem to have cooled down, I replied. But they're going to be walking on eggshells for a little while when it comes to disciplining me. So I've got to keep my nose clean, so to speak. Well, that shouldn't be a problem, Renee replied. But some important news just came down. After hearing about you, they've already dispatched the Inquisitors. My father's arranged it so that they don't have to contact your family. They understand that at least one of your parents is most likely an unhatched egg. But as long as it stays between you know, the whole werewolf thing, intervention into your family won't be necessary. The Inquisitors are going to be at the house waiting for us. There, they'll be able to tell you, well, a bit more about yourself. And after they leave, we can continue with our lessons, Renee said. Okay, I guess I'll be waiting outside for you, I said, before telling Renee goodbye and hanging up the phone, walking outside of my house and sitting on the front stairs to my porch, staring out at the street and waiting for Renee to show up, slowly chewing my way through an apple that I got from the fridge. I was a little concerned that turning into a werewolf might somehow change my eating habits, like give me some sort of ravenous taste for red meat. But, surprisingly, in that area there didn't seem to be much change at all. I didn't feel any hungrier or have any sudden cravings for red meat that, seemed outside of the normal. So, at least that was one thing that wasn't going to change. But I did have some serious questions about these Inquisitors. Like, what kind of tests were they going to do? I suppose it can't be too bad if everyone goes through it. But I'm hardly an expert on the matter, so honestly, my own thought process doesn't really comfort me. I'm not exactly in the state of mind of thinking like a werewolf just yet, I thought to myself as I finished off my apple, discarding it in a trash can next to the door that my parents had out there for when they decided to relax on the front porch, right next to a small swing that was attached to the overhead canopy of the porch. And eventually, Renee drove up, and I took no time at all to rush over and hop in, sliding into the passenger seat of her car. Hey, good looking, Renee said as I hopped in. So, how are we feeling on our first day of being a werewolf? Renee said as I closed the door and she started to drive off. Well, so far, the only things that I've really taken any sort of experimentation on are the fact that I have super hearing now and can basically hear everything going on in my house, even things that I really don't want to hear. I'm definitely going to have to start getting headphones for when my parents have, well, alone time, Renee said, laughing. Yeah, I'm right there with you on that. God bless whoever came up with headphones. My parents aren't exactly quiet either. And as you said, super hearing has its backfalls. So, is there anything else you've toyed with? Anything you found out about yourself. Specific abilities could be an indicator of what house that you come from, Renee said, still driving the car, trying to bounce back and forth between looking at me and the road. Well, other than that, the only other thing that I've noted is increased strength. I lifted a 50-pound weight like it was nothing. It barely feels like anything at all. How is that in terms of werewolf strength? Well, I'd say it's about on par, Renee said. It doesn't seem any extraordinary, but a werewolf's real strength doesn't actually come out until they transform. At our base human state, we're all pretty evenly matched. The real conflicts always take place in our transformed states. That's when we're at our most dangerous. Okay. So, did what I give you any clues? No, not really, Renee replied. It's all pretty typical for a werewolf. So far, nothing that would give me any indicators. But the Inquisition, the Inquisitors, should change that. Once you have a nice conversation with them, we should know more about which one of the houses you originate from, which should give you a reasonable idea of what you'll be capable of eventually. I'm more interested in what tier you are, though. You have to be a pretty high one, but since you weren't really in control of yourself, your spiritual energy was way too erratic to get a solid baseline. The first transformation tends to be like that. Your werewolf energy in your physical form hadn't solidified yet, so it was still erratic. Now that your spirit and body has gotten used to the transformation, now they'll be able to get a baseline. The higher your tier is, the better. The more powerful you are, the harder it'll be for my father to refute you. If you're a tier 1 wolf, then he'll basically have no options, except to find a capable suitor that can challenge you. And that's a very short list, most of which my father has issues with, Renee said, as we took the last turn that was needed before actually heading towards her house. Okay, so, to get some things straight before you meet the Inquisitors, first things first, you're going to need to answer their questions honestly, or to the best of your ability. Inquisitors are known to be very sharp, and they can see through deception fairly easily, so it's good to be straight with them. Regardless of what you tell them, you're not going to be in any danger, at least not from them, or the Werewolf Order. Actually, that's something that I was wondering about, Renee, I said, looking over to her seriously. What kind of government is the werewolf government? I mean, who runs it? Do you have like a werewolf president? No, we don't have anything like that. The werewolf government works like this. Each and every pack that exists has a leader. That leader is their representative in all things. Each pack has a status and territory. The constant struggles for territory, dominance, and power all relate back to the government. You see, out of all of the werewolf packs that exist in the world, only 12 packs actually get standing within the government, based on their power. The stronger your pack is, the higher it's ranked, the more territory they possess, and the closer you get to attaining one of those top 10 spots, which means that you gain influence within the werewolf government, aka the Council, comprised of the 10 most powerful werewolves on the planet, or should I say the 10 most powerful pack leaders on the planet. There might be werewolves stronger than them that simply choose not to be pack leaders. They're simply the ones who control the largest packs with the most power and influence. It's actually very rare that a member of the council changes. It's been nearly 200 years since the last time someone was replaced as a member of the council. All laws and ideas about what should be laws are passed through the council. Anything that is to be made law must be passed by a 100% vote, meaning that all 10 werewolf leaders must agree that that should be law. Nothing less than complete agreement will create a werewolf law. And since that rarely happens with anything, and there are very few things that we can unanimously agree on, the only things that ever truly become law amongst werewolves are things that are absolutely vital to keeping our secret and maintaining werewolves as a race here in this world. There are, of course, other werewolf leaders from other worlds, but they tend to be at odds with us. For whatever reason, werewolves that live within the human world are looked down on by werewolves that live in the demon world or the bestial realm. They view us as weaker, not worth their time. So both their governing bodies as well as their law and order are different from ours. But they know better than to come here and not obey our rules. Because regardless of what realm they happen to be from, the moment they step foot in our territory, they play by our rules. But the same rules apply if we go traveling. If a werewolf from our world goes to the demon world and enters the territory of another werewolf, then they are subject to their laws and order and must abide by them because that's their territory. Do you understand? Renee said, looking over to me. Yeah, I think so. I'll do my best to try to remember it, though I don't think I'm going to go world hopping anytime soon.